Right now on Our Indiana, Tom Crean is out as men's basketball head coach. Who will be his replacement? Plus, another Hoosier athlete was crowned a national champion. Folks, spring break is over, which means it's time to get back to business. This is Our Indiana. Welcome to this week's special edition of Our Indiana. I'm Tyler Sword. Tonight we will showcase IU Athletics' top moments of the semester, as well as recap what's happened this past week. We began tonight's episode with a story that has everyone talking, the firing of IU men's basketball coach Tom Crean. 1 minute after the NCAA tournament tipped off on Thursday, news broke that Indiana fired Crean after 9 seasons as head coach. In a statement, athletics director Fred Glass said, quote, "We seek more consistent high levels of success, and we will not shy away from our expectations," end quote. Over his career at IU, Crean won 2 outright Big Ten titles and was named Coach of the Year for the 2015-16 season. In the same statement, Glass said that he will be leading the search for a new coach beginning immediately. Glass said, quote, "The expectations for Indiana University are to perennially contend for and win multiple Big Ten championships, regularly go deep in the NCAA tournament, and win our next national championship," end quote. Keeping things on the hardwood, the IU women's basketball team is still alive in the NIT tournament. On Sunday, the Hoosiers defeated St. Louis in Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall to advance to the tournament's 3rd round. 3 players scored in double figures, including a game-high 17 points by Amanda Cahill. The win also set a program record for wins in a season at 22. Indiana will play the winner of Abilene Christian and SMU this Thursday in Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall. The IU women's swimming team concluded their season this past weekend, adding another national champion to their resume. Sophomore Lily King defended her title in the 200 breaststroke, setting an NCAA record time in the process. Overall, the Hoosiers finished 8th at the national championship, which was the best in the Big Ten. IU had 8 student athletes win 24 All-America honors and accomplished their second-best finish in school history. Today, the awards continued to roll in for the Hoosiers. Lily King was named Big Ten Swimmer of the Year for the 2nd straight season, and additionally, head coach Ray Lewis was named the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Today is March 20th, which means spring has officially arrived. In honor of the coming season, Our Indiana would like to take a few moments to revisit the amazing sports season that just occurred. So in case you missed it, here's a recap of what IU Athletics did this past winter.
Devontae Green with a rebound, throws it up from half court. Oh! It went in! Down the floor, Robert Johnson lobs it into Toe! What an alley-oop pass by Robert Johnson to Thomas Bryant. Three, down to 2. He's got to get a shot away. Drives inside, scoops it up, and got it! It went in! It's gonna count!
Here we go. It comes to Amanda Cahill. Has a look. She fires it up and hits! With .2 on the clock, Amanda Cahill ties the ball game. Buss walks to the three-point line, rolls around to the left, now with 5, back towards the center, all the way on the right, off the glass and scores. Buss too quick that time.
Let's send it over to Brad Davis at the desk to reflect on the IU basketball season and the recent shakeup on the coaching staff.
Thanks, Tyler. Welcome to Cream v. Crimson. So now that this roller coaster basketball season is over and Tom Crean is fired, it's time to put the season and Tom Crean's legacy, if you will, at IU into perspective. Here with me to do so are my guys Joe DiBenedetto and Jordan Burroughs. So over break, Tom Crean fired. What was your guys' first reaction when you first found out?
Initial reaction and where I was, I actually went back to visit my high school and I got the alert on my phone. It was like, I felt like it was about time. I felt like a lot of people were saying, around campus and around the IU community that Tom Crean is ready to be fired. No shock, but I let everybody know. I probably shouted it a couple times, but overall, I figured out while I was at my high school, Hamilton Southeastern, and told everybody about it.
Yeah, I was with a bunch of guys from Indiana, told them all when I got the notification. They all celebrated, and, while I was happy, at the same time, I was a little nostalgic at it because, he was here for 8 years, correct? 9 years. And, over those years, he took a lot of bullets for a lot of damage that was done. So it was kind of sad to see that a really nice person, from what I can tell, a really good guy, kind of didn't achieve every goal he had of, making it to the Final Four and truly rebuilding this program and winning a national championship.
It's real world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not getting the job done.
Right. No, I agree, which is why I said I was happy, but at the same time I felt bad for the guy. I really did, because he worked really hard to rebuild this program, and whoever the next coach is really going to have to thank Tom Crean, because he took a lot of bullets for that person.
And Joe, you mentioned that you felt a little bit nostalgic, and I think that was actually the number one thing that I was surprised by, because since 2014 when the team missed the tournament, I think this is when the noise around Tom Crean and whether he's going to be the coach or not at Indiana, it really came to a boil. And after he got fired, I just thought people were going to be celebrating, because I haven't been in the camp of Tom Crean's the worst coach ever, but there certainly in this fan base have been people like that. So has that been kind of surprising to you that people have actually been saying, well, you know what, Tom Crean did take over this program essentially on its deathbed, and over his time here, he really put it back in a position where now during this coaching search, for the first time maybe in 40, 50 years, this program has a legitimate coaching search where they have the backbone knowing that they're Indiana, but also they can choose from a litany of coaches, and that really hasn't been the case before. So were you surprised that people were, Tom Crean really isn't the worst guy ever?
Okay, well, I think that, the best team this team has been since 2002 when they made the national championship and lost with Mike Davis. But then going forward, Kelvin Sampson, all the errors he made, NCAA violations. And then going forward with Tom Crean, I think there have been a lot of articles published about him, like he's a nice guy, he's a great guy. We know that. I think there's a miscommunication between fans and alumni, where I think a lot of students and fans are disappointed. But I also think alumni are more celebrated about it, because I just watched the Showtime show about the 76 Hoosiers, and a lot of people still are on that Bobby Knight high, like we need someone like Bobby Knight to come in for this Hoosier team. And like you said, there are a ton of coaches available for this position. Do I know who we're going to get? Not exactly, but that's what we're going to delve into later on.
Right. So I think that there's a difference between, feeling bad for the guy and being upset because he was a nice guy and a good, really showed what Indiana's about, and the difference between our expectations. This is Indiana. This is one of the top 5 jobs in the country. Not many are like a Kentucky, a Kansas, a North Carolina, and then you got a team like Indiana. So when you have a job like this, you're expected a lot, and I think one of his biggest problems was his in-state recruiting. And one of his quotes I'm going to read right here is, "We're going to recruit this state incredibly hard. I'm not afraid of any challenge. I'm going to learn the state of Indiana. It's front yard, backyard, side yard, you name it." Since he said that quote, 5 straight Mr. Basketball winners in the state of Indiana all went to either Michigan, Kentucky, Michigan State, Purdue, and Virginia. That's not getting the job done right there. So his recruiting, what he's famous for, his recruiting wasn't getting the job done. And at the end of the day, the board of whatever the basketball board was saying to Fred Glass, this is it. It's time for a change.
And I think honestly that's the biggest reason why Tom Crean is fired, is because had he made the tournament in 2014, had he made the tournament this year, had they barely squeaked into the tournament this year or 2014. I don't think we're having this conversation.
Fred Glass said he thought about it for a while.
Right.
You know, like myself, I thought that it was just going to be this year, but he said in his press conference that he looked at prior years and not just this year, where I think this year is his worst year record-wise in Tom Crean's tenure here. Maybe first year?
Not the first couple
year.
years, but it's certainly his most disappointing year given the amount of talent he has.
So I think that what Jordan was kind of saying is it was the cherry on top. You know, this was the icing on the cake this year. This season was the icing on top of the cake, and it was kind of, you know, we had all this talent and nothing really, you know, came of it. We didn't really, you know, we didn't develop, we didn't progress through as the season went on. We had a very disappointing home record. We had a very disappointing Big Ten record. So, you know, this season, like you said about what Fred Glass said, this was just the icing on top of the cake, I think.
So, Joe, you mentioned a quality that you thought that Tom Crean was lacking, and that was that, and a lot of people have been saying that he hasn't been recruiting Indiana enough. And I think all of us know that Indiana probably per capita has and produces annually more basketball talent than maybe anywhere else in the country. And that combined with the fact that IU has such a rich tradition truly does make this a top-notch job. So obviously candidates are going to be interested. But in general, what are some other qualities you think that are really important besides just recruiting in Indiana, Joe?
I think that they need to be a strong coach. They need to have their players under control. They need to, you know, be able to make halftime adjustments. Something that I saw a lot this season was that we came out, had a strong first half. The other coach made adjustments. Coach Crean didn't make the right adjustments, and I think that that's a very important quality. It needs to be a knowledgeable coach. It needs to be a coach that has proven that has been doing well recently, honestly.
All right, so real quick, we don't have that much time left, so just name one dream candidate and one realistic candidate for this job.
Well, I think dream candidate, Chris Holtmann from Butler. It would be great to have him on our side. I still don't think he'll be able to come over to the Hoosiers after how well his Butler team is doing so well. Realistic candidate, I think you can I'd go with Chris Mack out of Xavier. I think who would give a solid chance for IU recruiting-wise. I think he'd do a good job for the Hoosiers.
So my two are, obviously my dream candidate is going to be Billy Donovan. I mean, look what he did with the University of Florida program. He hasn't really been doing well in the NBA. I think he pulls a Nick Saban type move, realizes the NBA isn't for him, comes back to college. Or my realistic one is the hottest coach right now on the market, Archie Miller from Dayton.
And I'm going to leave off right with you. My dream candidate is Archie Miller. I mean, the guy at Dayton right now, he's been there 6 years. He's been to 4 straight NCAA tournaments. And before he took over at Dayton, that had only been done twice consecutively in 50 years. So he's a guy who can recruit in the Midwest, and he's from a mid-major, so he's probably very much interested. And then Greg Marshall. He loves Wichita. He's had a lot of success. He can recruit in the Midwest. He's shown some track record of developing NBA players. But I honestly think the guy, for me, as of right now, has to be Archie Miller. But, of course, we're just going to have to wait and see. But that's all we have for Cream v. Crimson. So now let's send it over to Fast Forward with Nicole Christine.
Thanks, Brad. While spring break saw the end of the men's basketball season, the women's team is still surging through the WNIT tournament. The Hoosiers will face off against either Abilene Christian or Southern Methodist University here in Bloomington on Thursday at 7 p.m. If they win, the Hoosiers will then advance to the quarterfinals of the tournament. After spending this past weekend in Hawaii, IU baseball heads back to Bloomington this week for a midweek game against Cincinnati on Wednesday. The Hoosiers will then face off against their first Big Ten opponent of the season as they travel to Evanston, Illinois this weekend for a series against the Northwestern Wildcats. Hoosier fans can look to the outfield for a strong performance as senior Alex Krupa is currently the Big Ten Player of the Week. IU softball will also have their first conference series this weekend, but they will have the home advantage as Rutgers travels here to Bloomington. The first game of the series, set for Friday evening, will be broadcast on Big Ten Network for fans who can't make it out to Andy Moore Field. This weekend, IU track and field begins its outdoor season as the athletes head to Tempe, Arizona for the Big Ten Pac-12 Invitational. Be watching for standout performances from All-Americans Daniel Kuhn and Catherine Receiver at the two-day event, as well as Big Ten Freshman of the Year Kyle Mao. Over the weekend, the women's swimming and diving team placed 8th overall in the NCAA championships, and this weekend, it's the men's turn to compete. Starting Thursday, the Hoosiers will travel to Indianapolis to find out where they rank amongst the best of Division I swimmers and divers. One to watch for will be junior Cody Coldren, who is set to compete in 2 of the 3 events after barely missing the opportunity to compete in all 3. The men's tennis team has an exciting home weekend ahead as it welcomes 2 different opponents to Bloomington for a Sunday doubleheader. First, IU will take on Northwestern at 2 p.m. and then Detroit just 4 hours later at 6 p.m. If the Hoosiers are able to win both of these games, their record will improve to 12-6 on the season. And the women's tennis team also has a packed weekend of competition ahead, also here in Bloomington. IU takes on 2 Big Ten teams from Indiana's neighbor to the north as Michigan comes to town Saturday and Michigan State visits Sunday. Both will be morning matches. IU water polo also takes on Michigan this weekend, renewing a fierce rivalry. The 2 teams last met in the 2016 CWPA championship game, in which the Hoosiers fell to the Wolverines 2-9. IU will look to get revenge on the road bright and early Saturday as the game starts at 10 a.m. That's all I have for you this week. For more information on these upcoming matchups and more, go to IUHoosiers.com. Back to you, Tyler.
That's all we have for this week's special edition of Our Indiana. We'll be back next week bringing you the best of Hoosier sports. Thanks for watching.